All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Nova. I'm here with the intern, who's also the biggest fanboy for Harry Potter, Zach.
Hi.
I'm also here with my co-host, Ralph.
Yes.
So, as you guys might know, we just came back from watching Fantastic Beasts 3, The Secrets of Dumbledore. We're actually in my car, and this is the first time I recorded that's not after 1 a.m. Celebrate for me, guys. Yeah.
This is also the first time we're all recording in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is.
We're all recording together in person. Usually it's online.
So it's something special. So we're going to make this the best thing we can ever do. And I'm going to give it off to Zach because he knows it the best. He knows the Wizarding World and all of J.K. Rowling's best work. Is that right, Ralph?
Did you read The Cursed Child?
I did.
Okay.
And it's not her best work. Fantastic Beasts is better than any of that. So, yeah. I have my reprieves on that. That's a whole nother video if everybody's interested. But, yeah, we're going to stick to Fantastic Beasts right now. So, what do you want me to start off on?
All right. Firstly, I want to say a quick summary of the movie. It's about Dumbledore and his ongoing grievance with what's his name again?
Grindelwald. Grindelwald, the main antagonist of the goddamn series.
This movie gives you the ups and downs of the relationship, and not only that, continue with the zookeeper, commissioner. Yeah, we're gonna call him commissioner for now.
Oh my god, Scamander.
Cause what he said. We're gonna continue on his story on finding these fantastic beasts and making sure Grindelwald does not take over the world, and that's why we have World War II. Let's go.
And preface this, spoilers, because it is
Yes,
the movie.
there's going to be heavy with spoilers. If you don't want to hear spoilers, well, get out.
Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to give a general, overview of, my thoughts on just having seen it. The movie is not bad, but it is not it's not redeeming of the series as much as I'd have liked to be, especially if this is the final film. So, in terms of goodness, there needs to be more movies for me to consider this movie good. But if this is a continuation, there's going to be a fourth and a fifth and so on, maybe, then this movie's really, it's grounded. But if this is it, this is not good. This is such a lackluster takeaway
doesn't feel like
for
a
the
finale.
fan. No,
Yeah.
It doesn't at all. And it's purely just how they end everything. It's they leave it so open-ended that they might as well just plaster on the screen. To be continued, maybe. That's literally exactly how they write it. So, I don't know. You guys, what did you guys think? So you're less
Well, first, give us your rating of the movie.
Okay, so based on exactly what I just said, if they continue it, this movie is a solid 7.5. If they don't, this is a generous 6 in terms of overall. And I'll be honest, the fan service, the characters that you know and love, the banter, the magic, the scenes, the CGI, that is carrying all of this because the story is not driving anywhere towards anything without it. That's my take.
All right, and how about you, Ralph?
To be honest, I would rate it pretty similar. Without the continuations, if they don't continue, which they already are contractually obligated to, this movie would, without the, if this was the finale, I'd probably rate it a 5.5, something like that, a 5. Zach was right, the 6 is pretty generous, but I'd probably rate it as a 5. What about you, Lewis?
For me, I'm thinking I'm on the same boat as you guys. It does not feel like finale. This movie has a lot of roller coasters that goes through where it really got some boring parts in it.
They really only resolved the second film. That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It just feels weird seeing this as a trilogy because that's what the foundation basically is nowadays, where it's just a trilogy. But
Rare that you see just 5 story movies now.
So me basing off of this movie alone and not in an overwhelming story, I give it a good 5, and that's pretty generous for me. But throughout the story, I guess I can give it a little higher as a 6. But if they consider this as the finale of Fantastic Beasts, it has to be way better than what they did so far. And we'll get into that even more later on. So let's go into the characters first off. Zach, what do you feel about their characters, their development throughout this film?
It's okay. It's hard to say especially given that this is implied as a conclusion, but if it's not, then it changes everything I'm about to say. If this is the conclusion, then this is very bad story arcs for all of the characters, save Jacob. Jacob and maybe Grindelwald. Maybe. Like, it's very lackluster for all of them. And I don't like it because I love all the characters that, like, even Theseus, who I started out in the second film kind of loathing, I grew to like a little bit in this because of his relationship with Newt. So it grew a little bit. So I like that. But the characters, like, everything they did throughout this whole film feels left undone. Like, it's not complete. So it makes me hard to, like, take all of it in, take the whole movie in and say, oh, they did this great, they did this great. There's no finality to their stories. They're just, like, there. They're like, oh yeah, and they all skipped happily into the sunset. What the hell? That is not an ending. Like, that no one does that kind of ending nowadays.
Yeah, they end it with, like, Dumbledore having that burden to hunt down Grindelwald. Like,
yes,
he still has to do all of that. So
it's funny. There's even literally a moment where some of the characters in the background of a scene are literally sitting there looking out over a hillside and just, like, taking in the moment. And I'm like, I saw that and I was like, are they seriously, like, just, like, chilling right now after what just happened? To
be honest with you, if I had that view, I would too.
I mean, yes, it was a beautiful view, but that's not my point. They all still have a mass murderer on their hands. Like, he's a zealot, he's a dictator, he's a manipulator, and he's still out there. And he has plenty of people who believe in him.
Dude, what was Dumbledore doing as Grindelwald, like, fell and disappeared?
That's a good question.
Yeah, he was watching too, but, like, he looked over the side and was like, I don't know how he's gone.
Damn.
Like, those are some smaller points that I don't like about the movie, but the movie has a lot of really good things. Especially for a Harry Potter fan, they really do try to, like, give you that magic. Not to be corny, but it really is impactful scenes that you know as a fan, or that you could fall in love with again, like the movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs that come from you.
Oh yeah, there's plenty. We can get into that later, but, like, I know Lewis is driving towards something.
I know. I feel like the characters picked up where they left off from the second movie, because I felt their first movie together felt great, and that's when their story ends. And I think I told you guys earlier on about that. And they just basically changed why they're doing this, making Commander, like, basically the main character of this movie.
Yeah, they from 1 to 2 is a giant tonal shift on a whole, and this is more like this movie was what the second movie should have been. Shouldn't have been as dark as the second movie shouldn't have been so dark. It should have been more what this movie was, which was, like, collective, team effort kind of, like, feel. And I like that about this movie, but at the same time it was very it had to make it reminds me a lot of what happened with Last Jedi when Star Wars series. The Last Jedi came out, it was a big, like, turnaround from the first movie, and then the third movie had to pick up all those pieces and somehow create an ending for it. So that's why I feel exactly what happened with this.
Yeah, it feels like a part 2, not really its own movie.
Yeah, and it's not to say that it's not a good movie. It's just it has to make up for all of the faults of the previous movie and somehow spin it into a good light, which is the problem.
Really, all it did was clarify what happened in the second movie a lot. Like, even some parts you don't get clarity. Like, we don't know what the hell was happening with Queenie. We don't know what Credence was doing the whole goddamn time. Yeah, it just seemed like they were like, all you could tell is that they were suffering in that time span, and it just wasn't like. I feel like that plays a lot into Matt Mikkelsen's version of Grindelwald, and to be honest with you, I don't really like it.
See, I thought I was going to come out. I was very skeptical about his interpretation of Grindelwald, especially because I like Johnny Depp's version, and the fact that they changed it is a whole different controversy. But I love Johnny Depp's version. But to see the way they took this movie with Mads, he's really good purely because of what they chose to do with him. They made him more of a, like, I felt like Johnny Depp would have been like a scorned lover or pissed off, like, enemy that, like, it would have been emotional. This was more equals looking at each other being like, how could you have turned from what we had envisioned? Because for those of you who don't know or that are new to it, the books, there was a whole storyline that Dumbledore and Grindelwald wanted to create a better wizarding world, and that was what they had originally planned to do when they were younger. And then they kind of went their separate ways with different opposing views, and that was a problem that created the story that we are watching now, or we had just watched. So, yeah.
Oh, so if you're saying all that, how do you feel? How do you feel about it being interpreted to the film? Do you think that it was the best version that we could have seen it, or do you think Johnny Depp could have made better, or do you think it was just not there at all?
Can I answer this first?
Sure, go ahead.
To be honest with you, I think that Matt Mikkelsen's version of this made it more boring and less impactful. I think Johnny Depp's more like playful, charming, mannerisms. Like it would have made it a lot more like fun and interesting to watch. Now, like it's just to me, it wasn't the best. What about you?
Before Zach goes, I do want to say I felt the same thing, but I think the way they're telling it, it does fit in that way for the story they were telling in that movie.
Yes, I agree with that. And are you done? Sorry.
Because
I'm feeling the same way.
I do feel like that would have been the best way we could have seen it in the film, keeping Johnny Depp and giving his playfulness and Herzog in it, and giving that yin and yang, showing that different side of their love, and Dumbledore showing the most peaceful side, giving that part half and half, and Matt Mikkelsen basically just impersonating Dumbledore, and making the same character, but just one just fights for the other side.
You're right, and that's why I'm it's very contingent on how they decided to go with how they decided to steer the film to begin with. Because if Wade did Johnny's version, I definitely think that it would have been a much more. This movie has so much love and connection to it about the two characters, which personally I wanted to see, but if it was Johnny's version, I don't feel like his Grindelwald is not set up that way. He's more menacing and manipulative, and he's very imposing. This Mad's version of Grindelwald is very
threatening.
Johnny's version. Yes, he's very threatening.
No,
but
Matt Mikkelsen's is very brute force.
Yes.
Type of threatening. It's not the same. Personally, I find Johnny Depp's version a lot more interesting, and a lot of the times they had to go back on what Johnny did to fit Matt Mikkelsen's version of Grindelwald in this film. You can definitely tell though that this film was a good wraparound for Matt Mikkelsen's Grindelwald. Yeah. They wrapped a lot of story around so that he had so his version of Grindelwald shines instead of Johnny's, and it made the film less bad, I guess. I don't know how to say it.
He was a good casting choice, and he was able to steer the character. He's a very integral part of the story in the right direction for what they wanted to do. They decided to make an emotional, heartfelt interpretation of the story between Grindelwald and Dumbledore. That was really good. I liked that. It's just it wouldn't have played the same. None of that thinking, that planning of how to take it that direction would have worked had it been Johnny. He should have been someone who felt scorned, pissed off. How could you turn from me? In much more rage and emotion, but on a much more
It would have been more it would have felt to an audience member, to the audience though. I feel it would have been a lot more meaningful. I feel like Jude Law and Johnny Depp had a lot more would have had a lot more.
But they
chemistry.
never met in the first one. Yes, they would have had more.
That's so interesting too.
Yeah.
It's you've never seen them met in the second film, but that had chemistry though.
Right. So you can kind of forget the fact that Johnny was Grindelwald in the second movie and moved to Mads because they're finally face to face, which.
It was weird because they didn't seem like they had too much chemistry.
Yeah, which it's weird. They have it, but I can already tell, dude. 10 out of 10. I loved him in this. I loved him in other films, but he was great. Jude Law was the best casting choice they did for Dumbledore. They could have ever done.
Yeah,
Young Dumbledore, great.
I feel like they even kept the same script for Dumbledore.
Oh yeah, never changed. Never missed a beat.
He got that tone of Dumbledore where I'm pretty sure it was the second Dumbledore who came in. Because they replaced the actor.
Yeah, no. In the original Harry Potter movies, there was a change.
Yeah,
because the actor passed away.
Yeah,
I believe.
R.I.P.
Yes.
But it felt more, I guess, connected with that tone with it. Because I liked the second Dumbledore. I think he seemed more badass.
Honestly, yes. The first one, but that's the funny thing is that in the books, Dumbledore is so kind and caring, how he is in this movie, in the Fantastic Beasts movies. But the second Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films was much more
meaner.
Badass. Not meaner, but
I think more grumpy.
Yeah, sort of. He could carry himself and fight through any situation. He wasn't gonna come out with this compassionate thought first. He was gonna be I need to protect this kid. He always came out with that. He's everything. He's the key to everything. I need to protect him at all costs. That's what I need to do. And whereas the other one was more compassionate and caring about his well-being, his being as a person to make sure he was okay.
Yeah, you can tell that the second actor for Dumbledore and Jude Law, like their portrayals matched up very like similarly to be like based on compassion. Like
You're talking about the first one.
It feels like a.
I'm talking about the second one.
It feels like a
Really?
Professor X type of thing, where
Sort of, yes. Yes.
not exactly, but it's somewhat
Sir Patrick
like that.
Stewart's Professor X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
like-
Just want to make sure, because like I love James McAvoy, but what they did with his Professor X is not. It eventually
It doesn't hold
great.
up the candle.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. But I thought that the original Dumbledore, that's what I saw in Jude Law. The compassionate, like young, idealistic. He still has hope for what the future could be. Older Dumbledore then becomes more, I don't know, he has to come to grips with what the world really is, not what he wants it to be because he wants to do
A
so
big question
good.
I feel like most people had with the second film was like, why are they trusting Dumbledore so much? Like, what made him so good besides his power? But like, you get that question answered a lot in this film because like he's not just like one of the most powerful wizards in the world. Like he's also very compassionate and caring for other people, and they bring that out of him. Like Jude Law brings that out of him so well in this film.
Yes. And it's funny because at the time, Dumbledore is still not known to be Dumbledore. He's not as infamous as he is in the Harry Potter books at the time. At this point, he is still like new to the world. Like the world only knows him in passing. They don't know his name like that yet. And it's funny because he's very nonchalant about it, exactly how he is in the books and in the movies. Like he doesn't go around boasting about his power and stuff. And that's another thing. Again, spoilers if you haven't already noticed. The ending, there's a scene with the Chin, which is like this magical beast, and it basically chooses who is the best person there is, and the Chin walks up to Dumbledore and says, you like basically kneels to it and says you are the best to lead. So something that was really important to me, especially because we touched on it, it was there's a scene, and again for those that don't know, the scene where the Chin, this magical creature that basically can see into the future and sense a person's goodness, walks up to Dumbledore and kneels, and he basically says no thank you, respectfully, like he's honored but he says no. And I felt that's such a callback to the people that read the books, because Dumbledore in the books says something to Harry that says, those that are best suited to power are those that don't seek it, and that's exactly why he was the best choice for the Chin. Like that's why he walked up to him immediately. But then it went to the second lady that was going to be chosen for the magical community. So that in and of itself is a really good thing, and I personally throughout my whole time loved Dumbledore as a character. He was my favorite throughout. As much as I love Harry, he's a great character. Dumbledore to me was the best because even though he's flawed, even though he has his own issues, his own demons that he deals with, he's still, at the end of the day, is human. He knows how to do the best and cares the most and is purely good-hearted. Even though he makes mistakes, even though he screws up, he knows it and he tries to make amends for it.
All right. Besides Dumbledore, what two characters are pretty interesting for you? For me, it was Newt and Jacob. Jacob was pretty fucking amazing, and even in the background, you just see him doing random shit. It was hilarious.
He's honestly, all of the viewers come to life in the movie. Like he's the nomad. He doesn't have power, so to him everything is like through our eyes, and it's great because he's like basically we're living vicariously through him in the movie.
We want to be.
Yeah. Yes. And I agree. Newt is also a great character. He's my favorite. My favorite would be Dumbledore.
The best Pokemon character in like live action. Best one.
He's the best Pokemon trainer in live action.
Let's be real. They really got inspired by him. By Ash. Let's be honest. He captures every single one, puts it in his bag.
Oh, and he cares too. Like, come on, the thing with the Chin where he was risking his life to save the thing, not only because Dumbledore, you can tell, it's not only because Dumbledore asked him to, it's because he genuinely cares about all these creatures, and it's so cute. And his beasts are funny too.
I gotta say, they really picked up their CGI and visuals from the last films.
It was really good, like top notch. Like the cinematography was really good, and that's coming from the guy who critiqued like Moon Knight to a T.
Oh yeah, you had a lot to say about Moon Knight, and you did not like it. And I feel like they did so well on it. Like just the magic in it was done so well. Like, just the battle, the few... That was another thing. If the movie's not the final, then this is fine. But if it's the final, it sucked. The fight scenes were really good, but only if they're not the final. Because, like, there was a scene with Professor Hicks and Theseus, and they were fighting a bunch of Grindelwald lackeys, and they were basically owning their asses, and it was amazing. Just the use of their surroundings with the magic. Yes, it was the creative magic that we all love. Like, the big battles always hinge on those creative uses of the surroundings and how cool they are eventually.
The professor, I like that they really utilize, like, in the beginning, like, oh yeah, by the way, she's a charm specialist, so it adds more like creative, like.
And they say she's a defensive specialist. She knows all these cool tricks with magic, and she's honestly easily became my favorite character of the movie. Like, just new person we were introduced, and I felt her so interesting. And, like, of the group, other than Newt and Dumbledore and Jacob, she was really cool. MVP in my opinion, because she had so much comic relief so much of the time.
This is a random segue, but, like, for Jacob's case, like, I think that what was really good that got me really scared was, remember when, like, Grindelwald used the Cruciatus curse on him?
Yes.
I was really scared. Like, I literally tapped Lewis. I was like, yo, that better not be a killing curse, bro.
No,
I was like, you did not just kill the best character.
I genuinely, when he pushed him back, I initially thought, oh, he's gonna kill him when he threw him back, and I was like, oh, okay, now he's gonna kill him. He just wanted to throw him down to, quote unquote, because he's a manipulative dictator, show that that wizards are stronger than Muggles, because he's using Jacob as basically an example, and then he like basically tortures him, and with the curse, and I was surprised that they chose to. I guess it would have been too much for younger audiences, but they chose to torture him instead of killing him because. And I was so prepared for Jacob to die. I was like, please, God, no. Don't let that happen, please. Because he's a great character. And then he just gets tortured. And I'm like, oh, thank God. It was just a sigh of relief.
Yeah, just be grateful that he's tortured.
I mean, it's definitely the lesser of the two evils.
I didn't know that it would, like... I didn't know that the curse could get lifted so easily. They never really say that in the Potter books, that it's lifted. It's usually just, like, until the curse stops... Like, you are in writhing agony. Like, you feel like your body is literally boiling from the inside out. And a random wish just, like, waves her wand up, and then it's gone.
Yeah, and I was surprised with that. I was like,
man, why is this so bad then?
Well, it's also because the user, the victim can't do it to themselves. They're literally bound. They're basically being tortured. That's how they describe it, is the torture curse. Yeah. They can't break out of it until it's off.
They definitely nerfed it.
Yeah, they nerfed the concept of it, but they didn't nerf the concept of killing. That is still alive and well. Plenty of the Grindelwald villains use it.
So Zach, this gets to my nitpicks about the movie and what really got me off about this film.
Okay.
And I want to really hear from you. So the first thing is that I think this is a script and story type nitpick, but do you really think that they had to really come out like 10 times in this film saying Dumbledore was gay? I thought the message came across the first 2 times, but they kept repeating it like it was such a forbidden thing. So I want to see your take on it, because for me, I loved how they portrayed it the first time when they came out with it. Then they just kept repeating it like it's something really bad, and I understand why, but you don't have to keep repeating it. We know.
It's weird because, like, I don't think it's ever been... There's never once that they mention anything about being gay in any of the Harry Potter books. And then J.K. Rowling came out with it later, and I was like, great, but why didn't we ever see that in the book or the movie at all? Like, fine, great that you came out with it, but... And
you could argue that it was a different time, too.
True, but...
the books were written,
the books were written for the
80s?
The books were written for roughly, like, the 80s and 90s of when, in the Harry Potter, like, world. That's more or less where it takes place.
That gets us to the point of the... roasting, just kidding, Rowling. This is where we're going to kill her right now. Because, let's be honest, she's lying her teeth off, telling us all the BS that she's giving us. I mean, pretty sure she didn't plan half of this.
What do you mean by plan? What do you mean by plan?
Pretty sure she wasn't planning making Dumbledore gay. I think that was just something that she just came up with.
I can see it if it is true. I believe that she would have done it, but I don't like the fact that she's only coming out with it way after. Like, why? If you had meant for that, do it. You had thousands of fans, a whole generation of kids behind you.
Yeah.
Why would you?
It felt unnatural the way they had to say it instead of, like, showing it.
But, like,
it just didn't. It doesn't fit in any way where like you can think, oh, it's okay, but it's like they specifically have to say, oh yeah, by the way, they are in a relationship. Like they loved each other a long time ago. Like you have to say that, but there's really like no other clues other than them saying it, because the chemistry is not really there when they interact with each other. It's just, it feels very stiff.
You also forget they're basing it off the books, and the only time you get mention of them two interacting is a summer that they spend together where Grindelwald, this is in the books, mind you, where Grindelwald visits basically Dumbledore's neighborhood, wizarding neighborhood, and stays there with his aunt. Grindelwald stays there with his aunt and meets Dumbledore, and then that's how their friendship takes off, because they're two kids with big aspirations about the world. They're really inventive and creative and passionate, and they come together as a collective. The problem is they just say that they split. They get into a heated argument, and then they split up because of the death of Ariana, Dumbledore's sister, which I loved. That was another thing.
I love that they added that.
I know we're on nitpicks, but like I forgot to mention this. The fact that they tied in the obscurious concept that was about Credence into Ariana, that's amazing.
So that felt really good.
That was really well
planned. That's also another thing that we have to talk about. Credence. I really do not like his character, to be fully honest.
He was a backseat character, which is very stupid given how much importance they gave him.
That's two bad things about him. I really feel like they should have killed him off from the first film. That's for me. I feel that he should have died. That's the way he was supposed to be written to die, because that's what they kept saying. Then they brought him back in the second film, kind of understand that. Then in the third film, they just made a Dumbledore out. Blake Air.
Plus, the big part of Credence that was so impactful in the second film was that he could kill Dumbledore, and that he's like an overwhelming force that can turn the tide of the war. Right. But in this film, he got his ass whooped every single time, and he's dying.
Well, there was something. That's another thing I can nitpick about this, because I really literally went in my mind, are they fighting, or are they just pulling some Doctor Strange shit where the universe doesn't matter? I didn't understand the fight scene between the two of them.
They do have creative fight scenes, and it looks good visually.
No, I'm not saying...
No,
yes,
but
it looks
that
good.
goes into your thing. It just makes you confused with it.
It was really
I don't get how they got to that point of, like, it's essentially Credence. I think it was in Credence's mind that they were fighting.
If you think about
I was like, how?
If you think about it conceptually, though, it's really smart, because at the same time, everybody knows that you're trying to keep them under secret. You're trying to keep everything under secret, to where none of the fights in the Wizarding world actually affect the real world, like the regular world, like the Muggle world. Nothing gets affected. So literally, like, when you see Credence literally running at him in the middle of the street, full speed, destroying everything, how are you gonna take care of that in a discreet way?
Well, you also forget this is Europe, so they don't have to worry about the suspiciousness of America. This is Europe, where the wizards already have a really strong foothold into the world,
and like, where they can
hide it. They've gotten really well at that. But the one thing I didn't like is that it was almost like there was no stakes in that fight, because it was all in their mind. Like they were fighting. Like Credence was literally fighting Dumbledore for control, and there's no stakes to that.
For someone who can supposedly kill Dumbledore didn't even break a sweat.
No, he didn't. And this is him, mind you, without his most powerful asset, the Elder Wand, which is stupidly broken in the Harry Potter universe. Like, it's ridiculous how much that thing is capable of.
Oh yeah, in the second movie, wasn't it Grindelwald who has the
yes, which
Does he have it?
Which is again to the nitpicks. I don't want to go back onto the second film, but I still don't understand how he just got that thing. That wasn't his wand in the first movie, and I get it. There's a big. When I saw the trailer of the Crimes of Grindelwald, and I saw the wand there in like the flash scene, I was like, holy shit! And I was like, they're doing it, and then. They don't explain how he gets the goddamn thing. Like, that is a coveted thing to people who know what it is. Like, in the wizarding community.
For those who don't know, that is the most powerful one in existence.
It is beyond broken. It is like having, I don't know, what can you compare that to? Like Excalibur. It's like the holy grail of, like, wands. It is unbridled in power.
He just has it in the second film.
You know
and, like, I don't even think he had it in this film.
No, he had it. He had the one in this film. It was in the very first Fantastic Beasts film. He did not have it, where he was portraying that other guy. I forget the character that they created.
And passing on to Grindelwald, something that really lifted up my wand was Queenie, the sexiest woman that ever been portrayed in the movie series.
Ain't no way you just said that.
Ain't no way, man. Really? I mean, she's beautiful and all, but really?
Fuck off. But in reality, they really fucked up her character from the first film to the second film, and they try to continue it into the third film. How do you guys feel about that? Because for me, I got more tension between the relationship with her and Kozlowski.
Okay.
Kozlowski. Mike Kozlowski.
Oh my god, man!
You saw
He's
more
just
of their
throwing these dad jokes around like crazy, man.
I really like their connection more in this film than the second film, but I want to see what you guys say about it.
I like the relationship. I just don't like where it went to. It was very. You're right. It was not great. Like the second film really fucked with it, and to have the third film come out and be like, oh yeah, now suddenly they're all good. There's no real. They have like a really nice sweet moment, but it's like. You don't learn anything from that. Like, there's no growth there. She's just, like, stuck on the other side, and he's like, no, please, come with me. I love you. I don't care what happens to you. Just come here. Come back.
To be honest with you, I really don't like the fact of Johnny Depp not being Grindelwald because of the fact of there's no more manipulation. There's no more them second-guessing them. Like, all the main characters that turn their backs on the main protagonist of of this film, like, all of the people that turn their backs on them, they literally said, "Oh shit! Now he's stupid and crazy. Let's go back to them." Like they literally went back in a heartbeat. Like they had like from the start. Sure, I guess from the trailer you're like, "Oh shit!" Like from the trailer you can say like, "Oh shit!" Queen was about to go off on Jacob, but like it never happened.
Yeah, it was, and also I do admire her for her strength in those scenes because like she's literally walking past the man she loves. Technically, in her eyes, she's protecting him, but it's still like. They don't, and towards the end, they don't execute that well. Like, they have all that tension of her being gone so long, and Jacob's like, I love you, I still care about you. But Queen is like, no, I can't live with what I've done. He's like, I don't give a shit about that. And they don't ever make anything out of that. They don't make that a real scene. They're just like, oh yeah, he says he loves her implicitly because he's a good person. When we know he's a good person.
One of the strengths of Grindelwald in the second film was that he had so many followers and so many people believing in him. And, like, he wasn't alone. Like, that was one of his greatest strengths as an antagonist, like that people believed in him, that people loved him, like he manipulated people like through his charm instead of like through his like bewitching shit. Like they literally loved him and they idolized him. And in this film, it kind of just felt like it really felt stiff. Like it really felt like
there were some good parts. There was a scene where he was carried by a mob. Like he did a whole like I don't know like idol thing where he got carried out of the
really
car. Oh, I know, but like. Huh?
It really felt weird, to be fully honest. Because from the first film, you see him as a killer, and he's still getting some praises, but you don't really see him killing people in this film, and they still see him as a killer, even though in the first and second film they see him as a guy like a leader.
That's what I think they changed Grindelwald's character as a whole. They went from authority in Johnny Depp where they respected him, they feared him, he was something, and now it's just like he's powerful, he's the coming wave of change. That's where they changed him to, and I don't hate it, but I don't like it, especially because you started off with a version of him and then you got everybody to like that because and then you change it
because of the big flow change. It's not much of a because of the big flow change, it just didn't add to the film. It kind of felt like it felt like it was hindering the script.
Yeah, and it's weird because Grindelwald is really good for the emotion between him and Dumbledore is really good, but it gets in the way of that when he's trying to command basically an army of followers to basically believe in him and then help him take over the government, because that was what they were essentially trying to do.
It really felt like everyone else was just goons. Like they weren't being manipulated. They were just goons.
I mean, there was those two characters. The one chick that's always with him, that's like basically his right hand, and that one Auror from the German ministry. Also, I loved I know you want to do on nitpicks, but I can't ignore. They have gone above and beyond in exploring the magical world a lot. Like, we never even knew of other ministries. We've gotten 3 now in all of these films. That's great.
2 in 1 film, yeah. Like 2 in 2 films, actually.
Yes, that's... Wait.
Yeah, because
the French ministry was in,
Grindelwald? Crimes of Grindelwald, yeah.
Well, actually, we technically got 3 in all 3. We got one in all 3 films.
We got all of them. They all got mentioned.
We got the American one in the first one.
Oh, no, we got 4. The Ministry of Magic in England, we got the French Ministry, the German Ministry, and the American Ministry of Magic, or Congress of Magic, whatever. I don't love their naming scheme, but I respect it. It's cool.
And
it's
not only
different.
that, we kind of see a little bit more of the outside world, because we also saw Santos, that lady who's going into presidency, and we also saw the China Ministry.
Was it Lou or Lin? I know it started with an L.
Really
I thought it was cool that there's different representation.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But onto that note, what are your really final thoughts or honorable mentions that you want to bring up?
The magic, the callbacks, the Easter eggs for the fans that love it, that is where this movie really shines, because, and also the quirkiness that you love about magic in general, like just the fantastic, whatever you liked in the Fantastic Beasts, they also carried over. Like the scene when Newt is basically like doing a little swivel dance, that was kind of funny, and Theseus is just there screwing it up.
Dude,
and like
when he stepped on that on one of them, I was like, fuck. Bro,
I heard you in the theater. I was like, oh, he's screwed up. They're gonna kill him.
You're about to die.
Oh, and I also, the brutality of the German ministry. You realize they left these men out to die on like when the light goes out. So do you. Like they left that thing to kill them basically, and that's so brutal because Europe has the prisoner like the Azkaban prison, and they have Dementors, which are basically like soul-sucking jailers. But they have this thing, which is like, you're basically your giant scorpion executioner. Like that is.
Overall, the film had a lot of really good qualities, but in terms of story, it really felt like it was lacking and limited. It didn't feel like as impactful or emotional as you'd want it to be, especially the third installment, especially where things actually get resolved in this film from the second film. Like it just felt bland, and you didn't feel as much coming off from it. Like you didn't feel much emotion at all. Like it felt like you were kind of just sitting there watching, and that's not really
at certain times.
Yeah.
But you know, it is an improvement because the second film had that same air to it, and this was way better than that. This did not drag on towards the latter half. It really it was kind of like slow, but it wasn't as bad as the prior film. I gotta admit, that's one thing that this thing did right.
So, let's leave this as our final thoughts. What do you want next? What do you think?
I want a fourth film, and I want Dumbledore and Grindelwald, now that they're free of the bond, to fight. The war, Grindelwald is pissed he lost the election thing. He's pissed, he's in a vengeful rage. Dumbledore's going to need to come to blows with him. That needs to be the next film. And make it a fifth film, too. To close out the series.
To be honest with you, it shouldn't be called Fantastic Beasts anymore. Newt's story is done. Like, Newt's story should be done. Like, you should not...
It should be, but they're going to bring him back.
It should have been done in the first film. Let's be fully honest.
Yeah,
it should
have been done in the first film.
His
there was
involvement
no reason for him to come back.
He's the main character of, like, the first film, and then, he just gets sidestepped the rest of the film. The only thing...
Theseus is more of a main character than him in the second film.
I was
really annoyed.
I would have lost money on this film because I was betting that Theseus would die.
I thought he would too, and I kind of wanted him to because I don't like him. But he grew on me with that whole scene and the interaction.
That's what I'm saying. Like this movie has really no impact if you think about it. It's more just like an undoing of the second film. Besides
to get the film on track.
Besides the blood pact getting broken, it's really nothing. And then you find it the only two.
Well, you learn about the characters. That's one strength to it. You learn about Grindelwald and Dumbledore. You finally get an explanation to why can't they fight each other. That actually gets explained and then broken because of the pact being done.
It's a clear-cut explanation. That's all you really get from this film.
Right.
It really.
Which is why it's bad if there's something else.
It really is a continued sequel that needs to be continued, but. It's just not. It just wasn't.
Hey, so a fourth movie coming out would be the saving grace of this movie.
To be honest, I wouldn't rewatch this movie.
So
I would rewatch it
I'd
for
rewatch
Dumbledore.
Clips,
our discussion change your mind. Huh? Did our discussion change your mind on your overall rating? And what is your final rating? Fully confirmed.
Fully confirmed, as if this movie is
not... As a Harry Potter fan, talking for all of your fans...
Well, I can't... No, we're all... It's not a monolith. Everybody has their own favorite characters and opinions, but I definitely gotta say, personally loving it since I was a child and defining my childhood, this movie, if it's the last one for the Fantastic Beasts, it's a disappointment. I don't like it.
So what's the rating?
Like I said earlier, if this is the final film, it's like a 6. But if this is the story will continue, a 7.5. That's fair. I think that for all the good that the film does in a continued story, it's great. It's not bad. It's just like Ralph said, not rewatchable. Like there are good moments that you want to rewatch, but those are it.
They're in the trailer.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Especially the swivel one, man. You got that shit from the trailer.
How about you, Ralph? Did your rating change throughout our discussions, or did not? No, stays the same.
It's fair. His opinions are not like he was going to change. I personally just think that it's hard to like this movie as a fan without there being another one because it's so left up.
The main reason I wouldn't rate this higher though is because you just don't really get too much emotion out of what happens.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the real emotion is
was a little bit bland.
Yeah, the real emotion is Albus and Grindelwald. That's it. They're it. They're the whole. Even then it's soft, but that's because I don't think it's weird. Johnny had veracity to his portrayal of Grindelwald. Mads seems more.
I still love Johnny Depp.
contained. Yeah. But that's what it made me think. He got pissed towards the end. So if we see a vengeful Grindelwald come out in the 4th film, that hopefully will happen. God, please let it happen. I don't want this to be the end. It'll be great. He'll actually come into his own, and that'll be a really powerful moment.
What about you, Lewis? Did your opinion change?
Did your opinion change?
My opinion did not change. The only thing I would say left is that we have to have a Dumbledore movie instead of the Fantastic Beasts. Have one more Fantastic Beasts movie, and that's the end of it. It's a good 6 out of 10. It's not going to get better than that.
No,
to be fully honest,
you're right.
Let the next film be the final thing and get that Dumbledore movie that we all want. And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys like and subscribe to the channel. This is Noah, and we're out.